Hi and welcome to Preview. My name is Guy Giampapa. Preview.
And I'm Don Tulip.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cue Guy.
Hello and welcome to Preview. My name is Guy Giampapa.
I'm Don Tulip.
And on our program today we have a special guest. She was here a couple of years ago and she made such an impression on us, a woman that we know and love very much. We thought we'd like to show you that show again. Her name is Connie Gorfinkle, and she will be with us in a very short time. But before we see Connie, let's talk about theater. So, Don, take it away.
Okay, fine. Alpha Ben was a real person back in the 1600s. She was a theater pioneer who wrote plays. What else? Her story comes to life courtesy of the playwright Liz Duffy Adams, who has written her story in a comedy drama called Or. She is played by Stacy Fisher, who has returned to the Lyric Stage Company after her long-ago debut in Book of Days. She is accompanied by Hannah Husband, who is delightful in the three roles of Nell Gwynn, Lady Davenport, and Maria. She is a howl in each role. Roe Levy takes on the roles of the jailer, the King Charles II, and William Scott. In the plot, Alpha has decided to end her life as a spy and take up the task of writing for the theater. Yes, she does. Her thoughts are to have Nell Gwynn star in it while she continues her relationship with the king. This play is called Or. It's rather sexy, with a humorous look at the Restoration period that was loosely inspired by the true story of a woman, Alpha Ben, and Nell Gwynn, who was considered to be the first lady of the stage in that time period. Or was directed by Daniel Gidron and is the latest production of the Lyric Stage Company.
The creative team of Cantor and Webb gave the theater many, many memorable moments. For instance, Cabaret, Chicago, and The Kiss of a Spider-Woman, just to name a few. And don't forget Curtains. This is the show that takes place in Boston's Colonial Theater in 1959. It's a musical and it's a murder mystery all rolled up in one. When the leading lady is killed at her curtain call, a detective enters the scene to solve the mystery. Call it a whodunit with music. Curtains is both hilarious and a joy to watch. An effeminate director, a strong female producer, and all sorts of characters make up the story of a play within a play. It's supposed to be a drama called Robin Hood of the West. When a murder is committed and Lieutenant Frank Cioffi of the Boston Police comes in to solve the murder, the show takes on an Agatha Christie look. Yet this particular officer of the law is also an avid theater buff, and he relishes the role of grilling the cast amidst the surroundings of a theater. I suspect the audience was having as much fun as the performers. Curtains contains some fabulous dancing, and while the music from the 25-piece orchestra under the baton of Reuben M. Reynolds III is nothing short of sensational, I would highly recommend you catch this wonderfully and talent-laden cast presented by the Boston Conservatory. Nowhere in the Boston theater scene is there a better production than Curtains. I would call this the best musical comedy of the year.
Well, the fall season is upon us, and the Walpole Footlighters are back with a musical to open their 2011-2012 session. It's presented in a comical way. The story is called Urinetown, and it's a tale of greed, corruption, love, and revolution. It can easily identify with Occupy Boston. However, the difference is Urinetown has a serious water shortage because of a 20-year drought that does affect every living citizen in the Gotham-like city. To know more about this production, I suggest you go to your computer and type in Walpole Footlighters /Urinetown. Here you will find a summary of the show and also a short video with scenes from Urinetown. This way you can judge it for yourself. The cast consists of 25 people. About 13 of them are making their debut with the Footlighters. Urinetown was directed by Don Caper, with musical direction by John Ferguson. The Walpole Footlighters organized in 1924, providing entertainment to audiences continually for 87 years. Urinetown continues the tradition.
The Rat Pack is back for one more performance at the Regal Music Theater of Boston. Oh yeah, Frank, Dino, and Sammy in the person of Gary Anthony as Frank Sinatra, Andy Domino as Dean Martin, and Lambus Dean as Sammy Davis Jr. will perform as the beloved Rat Pack in Waltham's Robinson Theater on Sunday, November 13th for just one show. Don't miss these celebrity impersonators as they take us down memory lane as Sinatra with Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. delight us with their sounds, style, and devil-may-care humor. Producing artistic director Robert Eagle says they bring their act to life for a new generation of audiences. At times you would swear you were at the Sands in Las Vegas during the heyday of the Rat Pack. A hot 7-piece band of local musicians under the heading of Ernie Award winner Jeff Leonard will set the mood and the joint will be jumping. Don't miss seeing the Rat Pack at Waltham's Regal Music Theater on Sunday, November 13th.
You know, Guy, I'm constantly amazed at the progress the theater has made.
Oh, yes.
And entertainment. And I'm glad that I have lived long enough to see these changes because our parents never did,
right.
And so forth. I'm thinking of two things that are going on right now. The showing of Peter Pan in Boston.
Oh, yes, under the big
where they're
tent.
using projection
right.
on the dome to make people look like they're actually flying. And that's something, we've seen some plays in the past where they've had like a castle or a passageway projected on the scenery, but that was kind of primitive, you know. But it was effective.
It worked,
and so here they are doing that. Another thing is the Met Opera doing the Saturday afternoon matinees in theaters in high definition.
Where we can see it.
And so forth. I actually think they'd make more money out of that if they had like a $25 fee through your TV. You know,
it would be worth it. It would be worth it.
A lot of people don't like to go out on a Saturday afternoon, you know, after they're in New York and so forth. You know me, I have some weird thoughts once in a while. Suppose we took the opera by Tchaikovsky, Eugene Onegin.
Oh, yes, the Russian opera,
Russian opera, where Titania is, what's the name of that scene?
The letter?
The letter scene.
Yes,
She sits down with a scroll, and she's writing a letter to Onegin, who's older, but he's a roundabout, you know, and how much she loves him, and he rebuffs her, you know, and he leaves on his travels, and of course she's shattered. And then years later they meet again at a ball, and he realizes she's beautiful, but she's married by this time, and she rebuffs him. That's the gist of the opera.
Yeah.
Now bring that to modern days, okay? Modern days. She emails him.
We have gone a long way. That is funny.
She wouldn't write a letter.
No.
She'd email him, you know.
No, that's the way it is today.
And so that's one of those operas you really can't update.
That's very amusing, Don.
Yeah. But here we have the Met Opera. I would have died to have seen the Carmen with Reza Stevens in high def.
Oh, that would have been wonderful.
Yeah. Well, my little thoughts. I thought.
Well, that's very interesting. Well, let's talk to Connie Gorfinkle now. This was an episode that we did in November of 2008, and here's Connie.
Hi, Connie.
Well, I was on staff at the Ledger for about almost 30 years.
Wow.
And when I retired, which must be close to 10 years ago now, I started to do freelance. I do it mainly for the Ledger, and it's kept me in the world that I love, the world of the arts. And I review film, pretty much what I did before, review film, theater, doing much more theater than I did when I was at the Ledger, and personality pieces, and wonderful things like cover the MFA when it opens the door. I don't review art, but I will talk about, I'll do an advance about what's coming in. You know where your limitations are. And so it's just, I've been blessed because I've met people that I never would have, people that I admire tremendously. I think artists, they're the best because they put themselves out there all the time and they take it on the chin and come back for more, and then once in a while somebody has a huge success, and that's That's great.
You know, when I think of you, and of course you know that through the years when we've met, I've always complimented you on certain things that you've done in the paper and so forth. I've done that, you know, because, and I don't do that, I haven't done that for too many people.
Well, thank you very much.
No, it's very true, and I'll tell you why. That. Because, especially on television, and you don't see them too much anymore, there were people who were reporting on plays and films and so forth that didn't have a clue. And were popular because they look good on TV and so forth. But you are one of these people that I always admired because you knew what you were talking about.
Well, I hope most of the time I did, but probably some of the time I didn't, but, you know.
No, but you did.
Well, thank you.
You had a good review, and I mostly always agree, because I review these things, what he writes, you know, on television. On radio, it's a little different.
Yeah, sure.
But as far as these productions, especially live shows, I've admired what you've done because it's what I thought the play was or should be. We've had a couple of disagreements in shows, but not too often.
Not too many.
That's,
in all those years that you were writing and the people that you've met in the business, is there any particular one that stands out?
Well, there are many who stand out. As I say, doing this for a long time and met a lot of folks. I remember that, and don't ask me the film that he came, I know what it was. I think it was Winds of War, television, Robert Mitchum.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he always played such taciturn characters on the screen. He was one of the best raconteurs I've ever met.
Really?
He just sat there and regaled us with stories, and we did. I think we stopped asking questions. We just wanted him to talk about Hollywood. He was also one of these actors who felt acting was a silly profession, but he was very successful at it. And several years later. We interviewed, a group of us interviewed Robert Mitchum's son and John Wayne's son. And it came out at that point that Robert Mitchum's son has moved into John Wayne's house because he got along, when he was a teenager, because he'd gotten along so poorly with his father. Yeah. So you had different insights about people, though you obviously weren't that close to them. I used to envy people like Life magazine in the old days when they would go and spend 3 or 4 weeks with a subject and just cover them day and night and put a story together. That we very often would have about an hour to interview somebody, but I always compared it to a shipboard romance. You know, you know you're on that ship for a finite time, and if somebody's attractive, you might get to know them well, and everything is heightened and becomes more intense because you just know you have that little bit of time.
You know, that's interesting that you speak of Robert Mitchum. Someone, and I'm not sure if someone who was on our show, and I think it might have been Sarah Edwards, who said that she had an interview. I think it was her, had an interview with him, and she had a heck of a time getting him to trying to draw words out of his mouth. Well,
that's interesting, because some people behave much better when they have an audience.
Yeah.
George Burns was like that.
Was he really?
Yes. We interviewed George Burns in New York at I don't know if it was 21, I think it was. You know, it was a theater person's hangout anyway. He was on the whole time. He was as funny as he could be. And then I had a one-on-one with him one time when he came for the music circus.
Yeah.
He just sat there like totally uninspired, out of it, not interested, because there was no audience. So if you're going to talk to a comedian, do it with an audience. Though I had a one-on-one with Joan Rivers, and she just was Joan Rivers. She just did her thing, and that was that. And some people, as I say, you don't even have to ask them questions. They just go on and funny as hell. And you
I know what you
it.
mean about Joan, because I did an interview with her with that movie she produced with the Village People.
The rabbit thing.
Which was a disaster in its day.
Yeah.
She had mortgaged her house and all that.
Oh, God.
And she did an interview, but I liked her, and I still do.
I
too.
thought she was very funny.
She was somebody who went through hell and high water and still managed to.
And when is she going to get old? I mean,
Well, you know, when all the